Hey guys, welcome to Rumble Book Club. I'm your host, Michael Hernandez, and this is the show where a normal guy like me can talk about interesting books I've read, old and new, good and bad. So if you like the show, you like the books that I'm talking about, or maybe you just like the silky smooth sound of my voice, then go ahead and follow me. I'm on Rumble, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Parler. But more importantly, let's talk. Share my videos and let me know if there's any books you want me to read, and I'll be happy to mention them on the show. Before we begin, I do want to talk about our charity focus, and today that is Camp Hope, the PTSD Foundation of America. It's located here in Houston, Texas. What they do is they help veterans who are struggling with trauma and the effects of PTSD, which is terrible. Right now, we're losing between 21 and 22 veterans a day due to suicide, and the PTSD Foundation of America has made it their mission to put a stop to that number forever. Now, currently, over 1,300 lives have been saved from graduating their program, and the way they accomplish that number is by peer-to-peer therapy by veterans for veterans. So veterans who have been through this trauma and have overcome it turn around and give back to it. So it's a wonderful organization. Hundreds, if not thousands of people support it every year, and you can be one of them. Their office line is 832-912-4429. That's 832-912-4429. Or you can go to their website at ptsdusa.org. That is ptsdusa.org. If you're a veteran or you know a veteran who is in that dark place that needs help, their crisis line is 877-717-7873. That's 877-717-7873. All right, so today I get to engage the little fanboy in me. So today we're going to be taking a look at one of my all-time favorite sports books, Astroball by Ben Reiter. Reiter. I probably screwed that up. That's okay. Please forgive me. So this is a book that takes what Michael Lewis did with Moneyball and the story of the Oakland A's and adds an entirely new layer to the story with the rising star of the Houston Astros. And it takes you from the very beginning all the way through to their most glorious moment to date of 2017. So let's start with the aesthetics. It's simple at first glance. You see just basic bold orange, and then you see Carlos Correa, who was kind of a rookie during the beginning of that rising star of 2015. He won the Rookie of the Year in 2015 when they made the playoffs for the first time in 10 years to that point. He's running victoriously after a big October hit. And the orange pops from the shelf, especially being the only color with slight accents outside of that. But then if you look closely, you see there's more to the design. I really get a kick out of this. It's almost like a watermark, you see, where you see a scorecard. I think that's really cool. It's a really gnarly design. So as far as the aesthetics, very strong, 10 out of 10. Looking at the readability. So Reiter is simple but thorough in telling the story from the ground up, from the foundations of how the Astros began to their pinnacle moment. So you learn a lot without needing to be a huge fan of the Astros or even a baseball fan in general. If you just like history and sports and entertainment, you like the story of something being built, you like the story of science and the physical nature of the world just kind of combining in this triumphant moment. This is a great book for you. It reads very easy. The language is pretty simple. Nothing too overly academic about it. You do have occasional pictures here and there that kind of help drive some of the points home. And then you have an off-white with very clear, bold font. So as far as readability, I mean, I plowed through this book in about 2 or 3 days. It's a 10 out of 10 on readability. Now looking at the content, oh boy. So you go on a journey from the very beginning of Houston baseball when there was absolutely nothing, just swampland and a bunch of mosquitoes. Now we have swampland and mosquitoes, but now we actually have a good baseball team, so hey-o. So at the very beginning with Judge Hofheinz, I probably butcher that name too, I'm notorious at names. With Judge Hofheinz, who was really the visionary behind Houston baseball team, behind the Astros. How originally when they were created, he was all into the showmanship of the sport, and that's how Houston got a little bit of its showman genetics. in how we essentially do our business, with the uniforms that are extremely bright and colorful, the eighth wonder of the world, the first air-conditioned, cozy padded seating stadium ever built. You see them through this journey and how they eventually built a better team decade over decade, although they just couldn't click. They couldn't get to that real formula to find success. You see their rise to a World Series in 2005, then their crash through the mid-2000s all the way up to the mid-2010s. It covers all this. It covers a lot of ground, but it does it actually briefly to where you don't exactly feel like you're drinking through the fire hose, but you're not sitting there drawn out in this entire boring history lesson. You're not nodding off, for those of you that aren't exactly Astros fans and aren't exactly enamored with Houston history. So he does it pretty briefly, pretty tastefully. And then it gets into the real meat and potatoes of the book, which is how the front office was able to build on the idea of Bill James, sabermetric style thinking, and expand on it. And the real question that they asked was, what if you didn't have to completely wipe out the humanity, the wisdom of the scouts from this process? What if you didn't just have to have cold calculations? What if somewhere in that equation there was a space for the coach that's been in the game for 10 years as a player, for 20 years as a coach, for another 10 years as a scout? He's got wisdom. He's been around the game. He understands things that maybe the computer would miss. And their thought was, how much of that piece of the pie should we fit the human element of this game? There has to be space left. It can't just be sabermetrics, just cold numbers. And so it takes them, really the meat and potatoes is that question, and then how they went from being one of the worst teams of 2012, 2013, 2014 to through this process of recruiting, evaluation, how they took these ideas from recruiting, evaluation, player development, team chemistry, and a few smart picks in that final year to this behemoth of a 2017 World Series championship team. And I one of the things that really popped to me was a lesson that they took, not from the Moneyball tactics, but a small lesson they actually kind of took from the Chicago Cubs the previous year in 2016 when the Cubs went to the World Series. So there was a player on their team, I believe David Ross, catcher, older player, veteran. He was towards the end of his career, but the Cubs kept him on, and even though he didn't exactly put up MVP numbers in that final season, every player and coach account says that Ross was incredibly responsible for their World Series championship. And they took that same mindset and put that into Carlos Beltran, who was, again, an aging player at the very end of his lifespan as a Major League ball player, but he had wisdom. He had this ability to gel the team and turn it from a bunch of individual professionals into a group of boys, a group of men, boys that are just having fun with the game. And they actually made it a team sport. And it's very, very impressive how one person that might not be able to have exponential performance on the field can contribute so much to the rest of that team that is putting up those numbers. So that was something that stuck out to me from the book. It's as far as the content goes, it is a clear and concise 10 out of 10. I highly recommend it. I found this book at Barnes & Noble. You could probably still find it there today. I believe I saw it on the shelf the other day. I highly recommend it. Again, the book is Astroball by Ben Reiter. Go out and get yourself a copy, even if you are a sore Yankees fan. Go out and get yourself a copy. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and go read something.